All right, welcome back to another episode of the Cody Tucker Show. As always, I'm your host, Cody Tucker. Great to have you back. Time to kickstart another episode. Gonna go ahead and dive right into it. I have been watching an insane amount of The Sopranos lately. I've been rewatching it for the first time probably since like it was actually out. I haven't seen it since then, so I've been rewatching it, and boy, is it changing the way I act. I have definitely had more of a I wish a motherfucker would mentality than I've ever had in my life. Just seeing how old Tony acts anytime someone crosses him has made me kind of hope that someone pulls out in front of me in traffic so that I could go full T on them. Jesus fucking Christ. Just go full on. And yeah, I don't think that's good. I don't know. I mean, most of my personality, I will say, is just me copying movies. I didn't learn how to be I didn't learn how to act by the way I would imagine most normal people do. I just would watch movies 24/7 as a kid, and whoever was cool in the movie, I'd be like, oh, that's that. I'm just gonna start adapting that, and it turns out that movies are not real life, and so saying things that a movie character says or acting the way a movie character doesn't always, actually rarely ever translates to middle school. So I'd be in middle school acting I don't know, Travis Bickle or something, which had to have been a massive red flag, especially with just my overall demeanor as a Marilyn Manson Rammstein fan. That couldn't have helped at all. So anyways, that's just a little taste of what's going on in my world. But regardless, that's neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and go in and take a look at the news, see what's going on in the world. Alright, so first up, oh boy, Burning Man dubbed Trenchfoot 2023 as rain drenches event, attendees stuck in mud told to conserve food, water, and fuel. I love this so much. Okay, so I don't travel much at all, but there are a few places where I'm and I hate traveling. I completely hate it. I know that you learn so much about the world by traveling. Whatever. I hate it. I hate the process of traveling. I hate road trips. I hate being in a car. Don't like being in a plane. Never done a trip on a boat. I imagine I would hate it too. I just hate it. I hate going somewhere. That being said, there are places that are worth it to me. There's certain cities, certain things to do that I'm all right, that's worth the headache of travel. Burning Man, to me, if Burning Man was happening down my street, I would not travel to go to Burning Man. You couldn't pay me. There isn't enough money in this world that could get me to go spend, I don't know, how long does Burning Man last? A week? 2 weeks? I mean, I think it's it's not a weekend. I think it's a pretty good amount of time. Let's say it's a week, which I may be wrong, may be right, I don't know. There's no force on heaven or earth that is getting me to Burning Man and having me stay at Burning Man for the duration of that. Just one, I hate the sand, and from all the videos I've ever seen of Burning Man, it's just a bunch of smelly, nasty, disgusting people rolling around in the sand. doing an insane amount of Molly, mushrooms, whatever. Nothing about Burning Man. And I've heard people who go to Burning Man like, oh my God, it's such a religious experience. Yeah, well, I kicked all that out of my life too. So I don't need a religious experience. The closest thing I get to, if I go to if I go to a Knicks game at Madison Square Garden, that'll be my religious experience. And that lasts for about 4 hours. No sand, no heat, no hippies, no EDM. Ugh. God, there is not a single thing about Burning Man that attracts me to Burning Man. So when I hear that all these disgusting people are getting flooded out, it warms my heart knowing that their experience is ruined. Because you shouldn't be doing this. Like, going out, it's just like every time I see it, and like I always see like videos, pictures, whatever, because I know people who go to Burning Man. And the more I say, these are people that at one point I probably considered friends, and the second that I see that they're at Burning Man, I'm like, well, my God, I guess that ship has sailed. Like, and people like what they like. It's all right to like different things. It's all right if you like Burning Man. I mean, if you do, then hey, that's your thing. Whatever. Just know, and this may not even matter to you. It probably shouldn't matter to you. But I think you are a complete fucking idiot. Like, it is... Oh, my God. Like, getting trench foot is the best thing. To me, like, if I went to Burning Man and got trench foot, I would be like, yeah, this is what I deserve. I deserve having my foot rotting off for thinking that this was going to be a fun thing to do. I mean, I can't go more than 12 hours without taking a shower. And I don't know, I can't imagine the shower situation in the middle of the desert of Burning Man is anything spectacular. I also have in general, I'm kind of like, as for someone who grew up decently white trash, I am kind of a snooty person, which I've come to realize. But it's also because I realized that, I am in general very uncomfortable at all times. Mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever it may be. I'm always just on edge, uncomfortable. So I, take a lot of pride in being able to heighten my relaxation to whatever the max I can make, which usually, is not a lot, but I have to overcompensate for just the general discomfort I have 24/7. So if there's anything that sounds uncomfortable to do, I'm not doing it. I'm not going somewhere. It has to be something that is oh, this is my ideal thing. And for some people, somehow, Burning Man is that thing. Now, granted, all those people have something in common, which is that they get fucked up on Molly all the time, which is already just, ugh. I don't know how else to describe people. Anytime I hear people talk about how they're rolling, I'm like, you're fucking gross. And this comes from somebody who is a full-blown alcoholic, who just happens to not drink anymore. But I just think it's just, there's just nothing fun about this to me. But to go back, so shower situation 100% can't be good. And I part of the comfort thing is I need to shower. I have to be able to take a shower at least probably twice a day is my routine. Sometimes 3 times a day. Hot weather shit starts, sogging up down there. 3 showers in a day. And then porta potties. No, sir. I remember one time I went to this fest. They used to do the Mayhem Fest, which if anyone remembers that, cool. But it was, it was fun. It was just that I was in a giant concrete parking lot from noon till about 10 at night, and it was about 114 degrees. And yeah, so I was basically in like stage 1 heat stroke for, was it 10 hours? And I remember, like, as soon as I got there, so I got there, like 100, already about 110 degrees, 112 degrees, heat cooking its way up to 114 any minute now. And I'm there for like an hour. I'm like, God, like, I gotta take a piss, like, so bad. Not a number 2. I just had to take a good old-fashioned number 1. And there's like a line of porta potties, so I'm like, oh, here we go. Get into it. I went through every one of them. I went through every door like I was on them Let's Make a Deal. And oh, God. Like, it is like, I cannot accurately describe how disgusting every one of them was within like an hour. Like, that's how long it took for a row of, I would say, at least 20 porta potties to become just mounds of diarrhea, piss, vomit, a little blood, which was also alarming. Used needles, which granted Korn was performing, so, there's going to be a fair share of heroin. There's going to be a fair share of shooting up anytime Korn's in town. But, and that's in an hour. In an hour. And I don't know how many people go to Burning Man. I imagine it's so much more than we're at, a heavy metal festival. So I can't imagine what like a porta potty situation at Burning Man is after like 3 days. Oh, God. Like, just don't do this. Like, why? Why are you doing this? What is the purpose of it? If someone can accurately explain to me why Burning Man is a thing and what like enjoyment you get out of this, tell me. I really am curious to know, like, because in my mind, it is hell on earth to me. And this whole trench foot thing, flooding and all this stuff, I would welcome it. That's how much I think I would hate this damn festival. So, if I'm wrong, hey, I'm wrong, and tell me, I'll take it. But I just don't understand. So, enough about Burning Man. Let's move on from that. Next story. Okay, so a woman claims Delta Airlines lost her dog at Atlanta airport. I am truly desperate, I assume the woman says. Claims Delta Airlines lost her dog at the Atlanta. Hey, dog's dead. That dog is en route to who knows where. Hopefully not a certain area of the world. For, obvious reasons. But there's a very good chance your dog is, in New York City getting chased by 2 burglars. The wet bandits, as they are. Probably ordering a shit ton of room service, having Tim Curry trying desperately to foil his plans. Your dog's all right. Don't worry. All right. Next one. Fruits and vegetables are less nutritious than they used to be. Mounting evidence shows that many of today's whole foods aren't as packed with vitamins and nutrients as they were 70 years ago, potentially putting people's health at risk. Joke's on you. I've been eating McDonald's and ice cream for the past 20 years. Healthy as an ox. That might explain it. Every time I go to the doctor, immediately I'm thinking, I'm going to be told that I'm going to die. That's what I think I'm going to get told every single time. Is that, oh my God, you have a week to live. Obviously that's the, the good old anxiety kicking in, but that's just what I assume. I'm also, a great big fat person. And that has, that adds a little stress to things. But I just assume I'm getting told something horrible. So, don't go to the doctor. I mean, I do go sometimes because, you gotta, but still. And by some miracle, praise be to Allah, the doctor comes in with the little report and is like, I mean, other than you being a big old fat fuck, you're, like, really goddamn healthy somehow. Like, the last time I had blood work done was actually whenever I weighed the most I've ever weighed in my life. 426 pounds. Beat that. The only thing, I mean, obviously they told me to lose weight. They tell me to lose weight every time. They tell me to lose weight, quit smoking. Not doing either one. But, they have to say that shit. So, but, like, I did blood work. This is when I weighed 426 pounds, was drinking an insane amount. But this was like whenever I was in like my beer stage. So like started weighing a ton. When I switched to whiskey, I lost a little bit of weight, but then things got real bad. That's whenever, there actually were some medical issues, aka quit drinking. The rest is shit. The rest is history. So before all that, back up. I'm in the doctor's office, weighing 426 pounds. At the time, drinking 100 beers a week, roughly. They had me add that up too, because when he said, how many drinks do you have in a day, I wrote a rough estimate, and he said, no, I mean a day, not a week. And I said, oh, I know what I wrote. That is a day. And so then that turned into, wait. Write down, let's figure it out. So I had to go through all that. I'm sidetracking myself, God damn it. All right, so at this time, roughly 100 drinks a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, weighing 426 pounds, eating horribly, eating basically nothing but, so basically drinking a 30-pack of beer and then the shit that I'm legitimately, joking aside, most ashamed of, driving to Taco Bell, getting 5-layer burritos, driving back home, and eating those in about 10 minutes, and then falling asleep immediately afterwards. Maybe throwing up, maybe not. So that's my routine. All that was wrong with me is my sugar levels were slightly elevated. My triglyceride levels slightly elevated is like the actual wording he used. Well, your triglycerides are slightly elevated, so you need to lay off like sugar, carbohydrates for a little bit. That's it. Everything else, blood pressure. My resting heartbeat was like a 55, which I think it's still like about a 52, 55. Blood pressure was like 120 over 70, 118 over 71, something like that, which I think is like pretty good. Like, yeah, he had nothing to say. So I do not know why I'm saying what I'm saying right now. I might have to go check the tape and figure out why am I even talking about any of this. Fruits and vegetables. For a second I thought I was still talking about Burning Man. Oh no. Maybe I do. Maybe I might need to make a follow-up appointment. So, yeah, fruits and vegetables. So, yeah, I eat like absolute dog shit and weigh a lot. I mean, I definitely weigh way less than 426, but I still weigh a lot. I think I'm at probably about 3. I think the last time I weighed myself, which I don't think I've changed. I don't think my weight's changed much since then. It was like 364, 365, something like that. Maybe right at 360. And, I mean, I might be up or down 2 pounds, like hardly anything. So I'm just going to say 360 because I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But I know that if I went to the doctor today, everything, and did blood work, everything's coming back good. Somehow. Do not know how that happens. It just does. So, I mean, But I also like fruits and vegetables. But now, guess I'm not eating fruits and vegetables because apparently they're goddamn poison. Time to go back to the 5 layers of ice cream. Here we go. Live it up. But anyways, next, what was that we just did? Okay. Miley Cyrus says touring isn't healthy for her. It erases my humanity and my connection. I don't know. Well, one, I think the massive cocaine use might have more to do with it. It is something anyways. Like, you don't get a voice like that from clean living. Anyway, like, very grudge voice. So I would say touring, I mean, what? I hate so much people that do this bullshit, like complaining about having everything, basically having all this stuff just handed to you. Having a dad who, is one of the greatest one-hit wonders of all time. I mean, yeah, it probably sucked at times when you were a kid, but also, guess what? You don't have to do any of this. I'm sure she has enough money to coast for the rest of her life. So stop complaining about doing something that you are choosing to do. It's my same argument that I've always used about Kurt Cobain and like why I don't feel sorry for Kurt Cobain. Even though I am a massive Nirvana fan and a massive fan of Kurt Cobain. I think he is or was a complete genius. But for him to just be like complaining about fame and success when you are choosing to perform at these giant venues, choosing to release music or release albums like through a major record label, like you don't have to do that, which I think they were through Sub Pop, but I think Sub Pop was like through Geffen, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like you don't have to do any of this. You don't have to do anything. Literally can do nothing. And there's nothing anyone can say about it. Or they can say whatever they want. But there's nothing anybody can do to make you. Like, you don't have to tour. You don't have to keep like putting music out the way you're doing it. Make whatever you want. Stay at home. Now, I mean, you don't even have to go to a studio. You just have the studio at your house. And if you do still want to make music, because you enjoy making music, do it, release it, and do nothing for it. Don't tour. Or if you tour, I guarantee the same way Kurt Cobain could have done this, same way Miley Cyrus could have done this, or could do this. If you don't want to tour, you don't have to. You could literally call up any, and if you don't want to do these huge venues because you feel like it's making you lose your humanity, give me a fucking break. But even if that is what you think, you could just call up any, I guarantee you, if you called up any local bar throughout the country, they would be more than happy to have you. So yeah, you don't have to perform at, well, it's not Staples Center, whatever. You don't have to perform at the Garden ever again. You could perform at the club down the street from the Garden, a couple blocks down from the Garden that fits, 110 people. They'll have you. Like, I mean, and you also don't have to tour. You could just do that once and then be like, all right, I performed. It was fun. I'm going to go hang out at my house for the next, 11 months. Like that, I will never understand that mentality. I don't understand about Kurt Cobain, and he put a damn barrel of a shotgun in his mouth because of it, which is insane to me. Like, you chose to do this and be famous. And you can kind of dive into Kurt Cobain and find out that, like, he played up being famous. It wasn't like he was just like, oh, I hate this so much. He was just whiny about being famous, which, I mean, you became a musician. The pinnacle of being a musician, or like how you've like done the best at your work, is you usually end up becoming famous. Now, if that's like the reason for doing it, that's not good. That shouldn't be the reason you do it. But that is every musician that I'm sure Kurt Cobain was a fan of. The reason he knew they existed is because to some level they were famous. Because, through their talent, impact, whatever it may be. So it's just I hate that mentality so much. Like, yeah, don't seek being famous, but don't get all pissy whenever it happens, whenever it falls into your lap and you're like, oh, I don't want this, I'm an artist. Like, fuck off. I mean, Miles Sharks isn't a fucking artist anyways, but whatever. I mean, granted, I am wearing a goddamn AC/DC t-shirt, so what the hell do I know about art? But, you know, you would never hear Angus Young complaining about being famous, I'll tell you that. Even Bon Scott. Granted, he drank himself to death, but it wasn't because he was having a hard time being famous. Alright. Oh God! All right, so this will be the last one we'll do for the news, because this is gonna take something out of me, I'm sure. So Oprah Winfrey and Dwayne Johnson launched People's Fund of Maui to aid wildfire victims. Well, you know what? How about this? How about not putting that pressure on the people, most of which are living paycheck to paycheck, and you, Dwayne Johnson, and you, Oprah Winfrey, who combined over $1 billion. Well, I think Oprah alone is worth $1 billion. Like, what is... Let me hold on a second. What is their net worth? Like, combined. I gotta see this. So Oprah Winfrey net worth, which I know these things aren't like entirely accurate. Jesus Christ. $2.5 billion. Even if that is like off by $500 million, that's still, oh my God. And then Dwayne Johnson net worth, let's see what his is. I mean, I'm sure it's not Dwayne Johnson. That is so sickening. $800 million. All right, so you combine that, 3.3 billion. That is $3.3 billion. So unless my math is, I think, I mean, there's like, what, 330 million people in the U.S.? So that's like enough to give everyone, what, $10? Well, I guess that's not much. But basically, the point I'm trying to make is you take care of it. Which, one, let's not pretend like Oprah Winfrey didn't start these damn fires. I mean... You know, granted, I wasn't there. Never, you know, I don't have any skin in the game. But we all know that Oprah handed a bucket of gas. Oprah for sure handed over a thing of gasoline and some matches to Stedman and said, Stedman, you know what to do. Gail's going to be the lookout, and you get me some cheap Hawaiian property. Like, I mean, just for Oprah and Dwayne Johnson to have the balls to say, to like beg people to donate and call it the People's Fund, when you are both combined sitting on $3.3 billion. Now, I don't know how much money they're expecting to raise. I don't know what their goal is, which I don't believe in the article it said that they had necessarily a goal. Let's say the goal is $50 million. It's a pretty good amount of money. That would be unnoticeable for them. I mean, Oprah, let's say Oprah is the one who has, you know, way more money. She has 3 times as much money as Dwayne Johnson, which is baffling too. But for Oprah to donate $50 million would be, I mean, it'd be like me throwing away like a $5 bill, which, you know, not to brag. Like, it's insane that they're like begging people to do this when goddamn Oprah fucking started this shit. There's no way. And I know, like, it's a, you know, this is some like Alex Jones conspiracy shit, you know, like Oprah started the damn fires. You know what? Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. I like conspiracies. I like intermingling with basket cases and nut jobs. It's kind of my bread and butter. But if somehow a security camera at like a Circle K caught Stedman on video filling up gallons of gasoline into buckets and carrying them off into the jungle, I would not be surprised one bit. So, maybe not. I'm just saying, this is not good. You do it. You take care of it. I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me. And I'm sure, there's celebrity friends who vacation to Hawaii, twice a year, who actually give a shit and like, or not that they don't care. It's one, they don't care about the people of Hawaii. No way. Dwayne Johnson probably. There's not a chance. Which really my issue isn't with Dwayne Johnson that much. My issue with Dwayne Johnson's more that like stop making movies. My issue is more with Oprah Winfrey, because there's always just been something so fucking scummy and grimy about Oprah Winfrey. And when she does this kind of bullshit, it immediately makes me like think like, you're friends with like the richest people in the world, and you are one of the richest people in the world. Why are you begging people who work at a goddamn 7-Eleven to save this place that the only reason you care about it is because you vacation in these like $1 million rentals and live in this like luxury, while the people of Hawaii, not everybody, but a lot of the people of Hawaii live in damn near living in poverty, while you're in this retreat getting your fucking toes sucked on by Gale. And meanwhile there is just streets filled with meth and a rampant Dog the Bounty Hunter issue. Doors getting busted down 24/7 by Dog and his family. So, stop being a hypocrite. You pay for it. You pay for the place. Goddamn, they've done enough for your fucking fat ass anyways. Alright, well, that's enough of that. I'm gonna have a fucking aneurysm. So, time to move on. Let's see, what do we have to, what are we moving on to next, I wonder? Oh, okay. Well, that'll be good. So, let's take a little break, and, I got some hot take action next, and then, other stuff to talk about. But, take a little break, move on to hot takes. So, here we are. Got a steamy hot take for everyone. So, this is something I did not know was a hot take until decently recently. So, for my entire life, maybe not entirely, as long as I can remember, I never take hot showers. I shower a lot, but I never take hot showers. I have always taken blistering cold showers. And I'm sure that I just lost whatever little fan base group or whatever. That felt fucking gross to call it a fan base. Whatever viewership I have just went down about 70%, I imagine. So the 30% who are still here, thank you. But also, I understand. I found out like kind of the hard way. So I found out just from making the mistake of talking about how. So I kind of mentioned this earlier, how like I, growing up, just kind of mimicked behavior that I would read about that like famous people did, or like from movies. So like watching a movie, seeing how this person act and like kind of copying their mannerisms, their like how they acted, how they like fuck society, like all that kind of shit. Like all through high school, I basically mimicked Jim Morrison throughout all of high school because I thought it would make me cool. And in a weird way, like it kind of worked as a trick. Like I tricked myself into thinking I was like cooler than I was, because I was actually a fucking loser. But if you can trick yourself, then is that not your reality? So as you know, as Confucius says, maybe. Might have said it once. But I remember being really little, like, man, maybe third or fourth grade, so pretty young, and I would just read biographies, like read a biography a week. I mean, granted, I'm not talking about like giant, like Walter Isaacson biographies, but like, you know, decent size for like a kid biographies, because there's all those like kind of like our school library have all these like kind of like kids versions of like biographies of famous people, and every week, I mean, I would just go to the library constantly read every one of the biographies. And I remember reading one about Beethoven, like a kid's biography of Beethoven. And in that book, they talked about how before he would compose music, he would take a bucket of like freezing cold water and just dump it over his head and then start composing, because he believed that it made his brain like way sharper, more active, and he believed that he could like compose music faster and better because his brain was like, you know, had just jump started to like, you know, 100 miles an hour. So from that moment on, I started just every morning taking super cold showers, because I thought it would make me I thought it would make me smarter, make me more like creative, like, you know, like, I don't know why the fuck I needed to be creative. I mean, whatever. I had a very active imagination as a kid, and I thought it would just make it so much better if I just took freezing cold showers, and it became a habit that I've done ever since. Now, what I'll usually do is, like, usually my method, which this is gonna sound so fucking weird to most people, and I really didn't think this was that weird until just like bringing it up to people and seeing the look of like horror on their faces. Because like when someone tells me they take like blistering hot showers where like their skin is red and shit, I'm like, that sounds miserable. I mean, granted, I hate being hot, so, you know, there's that. But like, oh god, I hate hot showers. Hate them. But what I'll do is like I'll usually flip the you know, like turn the shower on halfway, so it's like lukewarm medium. That's like the initial. So I get in, and then every so often I click until I end up getting it to as cold as it can possibly be, and then I stand in that for, oh god, I don't know, 10 minutes probably, maybe 15 at the most, but at least a solid 10 minutes just standing in there like shaking and breathing. I'm like a goddamn psychopath. Now granted, if I was to ever be in a situation with a you know, with a nice female, and she wanted to take a shower together, which joke's on you, what a horrible decision you just made. But if that ever somehow happens, I might have to might have to go for the warm shower in that situation, because boy does my John Thomas shrink to about I mean, that thing becomes an innie real fast. Like whenever I get out of the shower, I look like Buffalo Bill in that goddamn skin suit. Like I'm basically doing a reverse Mulan every time I get out of the shower. That is the one downside, is like, and I do worry sometimes that I'm gonna like die in the shower, like have like a heart attack in the shower, which, you know, there's a little taste of my brain. But I do worry that I'm going to have a heart attack in the shower, and that when they find me, I mean, because I'll be basking in ice cold water for who knows how many hours, that when they find me, my dick's about that big. And boy, even in the afterlife, I don't want that kind of embarrassment. So, which, I mean, I'm by no means a shower, you know, in general, but it's incredible how small it can get during these showers. Like, I mean, like it feels like a callus. Like a callus isn't the right word. Like a you know, little carbuncle somewhere or something. Like I'm rub. I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's like, oh, that's my goddamn penis. Yeah, so, there's a risk. There's a risk to it. But that's my steamy hot take, or should I say steamy cold take? Steamy cold take for the week. Write in what you feel about this. Leave a comment if you agree, disagree. If you're one of the psychopaths who take cold showers like me, I would love to know, because I feel like I'm alone in this, and it's never great being alone. Aw. All right. Moving on. Next topic. Take a little break. I'll be back with I'm gonna do the old little that movie ain't as bad as you think it is. So. All right. So for this one, for the that movie ain't as bad as you think it is. Give it a shot. Whatever I have this called. I can't remember even what I have this called. It doesn't matter. I'm doing a movie that, well, one, I believe is the first rated R movie I ever saw. So that's a bit of a life changer. A movie that has made a very big impact on me. A movie I've seen well over 100 times. Which I might do. I'm still thinking about doing this segment like the 100 time club. Because there are just like a certain set of movies I've seen over 100 times that I would like to give a little. Because some of them are going to be, to most people, baffling. That I've seen these movies that many times. A little taste of that. One of them, Young Guns. So, but there just are. There's a certain number of movies I've seen over 100 times. Can't help it. Is what it is. I like repetitive shit. So, back to now. The movie that I'm talking about is a movie that, again, I do not understand why people hate this movie. And I've watched it. So for the longest time. So the movie, I should probably just say the name of the movie. That'd probably be a good thing to do. Is a movie with a whopping 4.9 on IMDb. The classic 90s monster flick, Anaconda. Okay, so for the longest time, did not know that people hate this movie. No clue. No idea how universally hated this movie is. It makes no sense to me. I have... And so when I found that out, I don't know, maybe when I was like, maybe let's say 14, 15. I don't know, whenever IMDb kind of became like widely used, which I'd say is probably around that time, maybe even a little earlier. Whenever I was first able to like read the reviews of movies that were like old and see like what people thought of movies, which I wish I never was able to, I wish that never existed. Because, God, like, it's kind of nice just watching a movie and not knowing what people think about it. Because sometimes, as much as I like to think I'm an independent woman, I definitely am swayed if I know that, like, a movie sucks before I watch it. Or if I know a movie's supposed to be amazing before I watch it. Because then if a movie sucks, I'm, like, already like, God damn, well, what's the point of even watching it? If I know a movie's supposed to be, like, universally loved, like, critically loved, I'm immediately nitpicking it. Like, thinking, oh, what the fuck, this movie isn't that good. And I don't like that I do that. I try not to, and I think in most cases I can still watch a movie knowing whatever the review is that I'm just going to watch it for me. But there are times where I notice that I sway my, like I'm already watching it with a mindset of like, not liking the movie, which is not good. So, but with Anaconda, I have watched this movie so many times since then, since knowing how hated this movie is, and still don't see it. I mean, I'm not that dumb. Despite what the comments say, I'm not that stupid. Yet, I cannot figure out why people hate this movie. Now, granted, Eric Stoltz, this is just one of the many movies that Eric Stoltz has no business being in, and it seems like they figured that out real quick because he's laying in a bed with a bandage on his neck for I'd say 90% of the movie, which poor guy. I mean, he was Marty McFly for like a week, and then they were like, hey, you are so boring. So goodbye. So yeah, poor Eric Stoltz, whatever. But like, okay, so when you go and read the reviews of this movie, the biggest criticism of this movie is Jon Voight and Jon Voight's accent. Now, unless I'm just so stupid that I'm missing what's right in front of me, I don't get it. I don't get why people think his accent's bad. 90% of the people who are like shitting on his accent, they've never heard somebody from Paraguay. He may be nailing it for all we know. Like, I would like to go up to everybody who is like shit on his accent in that movie and give them a picture give them a globe with like no names on it and say, point out Paraguay. Point it out. If you get it, then I will give you $1,000 and I will respect your opinion. If you can, then you deserve it. Like, he may be nailing it for all I know. Now, I would say the bookmakers would probably put that at a the chances are probably not very likely that he's nailing this, somewhat obscure country's accent. I mean, not as an obscure country, but like, they didn't have him be Brazilian or Colombian, like something where people would be like, oh, I know that. Like, most Americans, I'm sure, do not even know that Paraguay is a country. But like, even still, like, even if you're just hearing it from like as a Latin American accent and just having that vague impression of what a Latin American accent is, he's doing it. Like, these are the same people who, if they watch Scarface, see no issue with Al Pacino's horrible Cuban accent. Al Pacino's Cuban accent in Scarface is one of the worst accents of all time. It is terrible. But they don't see any issue with that. But when they watch this, they're like, oh, that accent sucks. Like, Jon Voight's accent is so much better in this than Al Pacino's as Tony Montana. So I immediately disregard anyone's opinion when they say that that sucks about this movie, is that there's, again, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. But then you look at the cast of this movie. The cast of this movie is incredible. So not only Jon Voight, who, I mean, he's one of the greatest actors of all time. Granted, a bit of a nut job in more recent years, has kind of turned into a, I don't know, kind of gotten into the Meatloaf, Ted Nugent grouping. But regardless, Jon Voight's still an incredible actor. Then you also Jennifer Lopez in prime. I mean, Jennifer Lopez has always been in her prime, but this, this movie starts off basically. I mean, well, it starts off with Danny Trejo, which is hilarious. But it starts off with Danny Trejo, unaliving himself because he's about to get eaten by a snake. But then immediately cuts in and you get a nice look at J-Lo's rumpus. So already they know what the viewers want when this movie is being made. You have a young Danny Trejo, which is always that's how every movie should start off, with Danny Trejo having like a cold open. No matter what. Schindler's List, Toy Story, whatever. Start off with Danny Trejo doing something. Then, yeah, J-Lo, Eric Stoltz. Eric Stoltz doesn't need to be in this movie. But then, Ice Cube. And Ice Cube's awesome in this movie. Owen Wilson, who was, like, not known at all when this movie came out. I mean, he was in, like, Bottle Rocket, but who the fuck ever saw Bottle Rocket? Yeah, and then, I mean, I guess none of the other actors are really that well known. There's, like, Carrie Warner, who was in, like, Eight-Legged Freaks. So, yeah, big score there. And then, like, Hyde, what's his name? Hyde something that plays Westridge, whatever. There's big name people in this movie, and J-Lo and Ice Cube fucking survive. There's no horror movie where that happens. So already, way ahead of the game. Now, granted, the sound of the anaconda just screaming at people is a stretch. Because snakes in general don't really make a sound. I think some of them make like a little bit of a hiss, but they definitely don't fucking scream like Liza Minnelli whenever they're attacking people. And they also, for sure, aren't chasing a boat down down a river and like hunting people. But if you don't have that, you gotta take fucking liberties. It's a movie. It is a movie. Watch this movie as a movie. Not like, this is not a documentary. Granted, they are making a documentary in the movie, which is also hilarious. But I'm just saying, like, this movie, interesting fact about this movie. So one, if you go back and watch this movie, I don't know why this is the case, but movies that were made 30 years ago have way better CGI than movies that are made today. I don't know if it's because like CGI was so like new that they were like they had to put so much effort into it. So like if you know you're having to put an insane amount of effort into it, you're going to make damn sure that it looks good. Whereas now they can basically just copy and paste CGI and they don't really fix, they like add some stuff and it just looks cheap. Like I think because CGI is so much cheaper now than it used to be, it looks cheap. I mean, I think that has something to do with it, with CGI being so expensive in the 90s. So expensive that every second that you see this anaconda on screen, every second, it cost $100,000. Now, granted, they did use a lot of practical effects, which they should be using in movies anyways, but the CGI scenes with the snake look good. They look good. I mean, there's not a lot. Like, a lot of this movie is practical effects, which I love. But even the scenes that are CGI, like, they look so much better than movies now. So I'll leave you. I mean, one thing I love about movies in general is looking at who was supposed to play who and who declined. So I'll just end it with this, because, goddamn. If you haven't seen, just watch Anaconda and have fucking fun. I don't understand why people hate this movie. J-Lo was supposed to be played by Gillian Anderson from The X-Files, which, always had a big crush on Gillian Anderson, so probably would have enjoyed it too, but you gotta have J-Lo in this movie. And then last one, Owen Wilson was going to originally be played by Chris Farley, which this is a much different movie if Chris Farley is in the Owen Wilson role. But I think Chris Farley had to bow out to do Beverly Hills Ninja. Might be wrong. I'm pretty sure Beverly Hills Ninja. So, that's a pretty big hunk of shit too. So, he should have done Anaconda. But he was also supposed to be Shrek, and even recorded dialogue. And if you haven't ever seen that on YouTube, it's worth the tube. So, there's my review of a movie that came out 26 years ago. So, again, really on it. I'm just saying, I feel like there's got to be people in this world who hear what I'm saying and know that I'm right. But maybe not. So anyways, enjoy. Take a little break. Do a little... Okay, so, again, welcome back. This week's Half-Ass History is going to be a little bit different. So, instead of doing 3 completely different stories, so I did the same with all the Half-Ass Histories, like, some of the stuff, like, or most of it I'm already decently familiar with ahead of time. That's just shit that I'm, like, trying to remember. I'm like, oh, yeah, that was an interesting story. Some of it I've never heard. I'm just like, in my readings come across it. And then some is I'm just going through like a deep dive into a topic and finding out like crazy shit and like writing down the crazy stuff so that I can, do this. So that's a little bit of the, how the sausage is made. So lately I've gone down a huge rabbit hole on a literary giant, Ernest Hemingway. And I'm going to do three. I'm just going to do this whole thing is going to be about Ernest Hemingway, which, if you aren't too familiar with Ernest Hemingway or don't seem like you care about Ernest Hemingway, yeah, scratch that off your head right now. This Ernest Hemingway had the craziest life I have ever read about. I've ever heard out of anybody that I've ever done a deep dive into. No one comes close to Ernest Hemingway. Just the people he was around, what he did, how insanely tough he was, and how batshit crazy he was. Ernest Hemingway has become my idol in the past couple months. So obviously Ernest Hemingway, the writer of For Whom the Bell Tolls, The Old Man and the Sea, very huge books that, school readings usually. Every high school English class is, at some point in your years of high school, you're going to be reading an Ernest Hemingway book. So Ernest Hemingway, the first little segment of his life that I'm going to talk about is Ernest Hemingway's connection to other writers. Because there's some wild shit of stories with him and other famous writers of of that time, early 1900s to even into the mid 1900s. So Ernest Hemingway at one point was a war reporter, and that's it's not necessarily how he got famous, but he did get a pretty good amount of fame by being a war reporter. And this is during the First World War, I believe. Ooh, actually, it might have been the Second World War. Doesn't matter. He was a war reporter. There was a time where Ernest Hemingway, as a war reporter, met a young soldier who, on the battlefield, Ernest Hemingway hang out with him. This guy knows Ernest Hemingway, so he's wanting to talk to him because he fancies himself a bit of a writer. That fella was named J.D. Salinger. J.D. Salinger is the author of The Catcher in the Rye, ipso facto responsible for the death of John Lennon. Ernest Hemingway and J.D. Salinger was immediately enamored by Ernest Hemingway, obsessed with this son of a bitch while they were interacting on the battlefields and everything. So when things would kind of die down a little bit, J.D. Salinger immediately is on Ernest Hemingway like glue, trying to learn what he can about writing. And he began to just have this huge fascination with him, and was idolizing him in just a short amount of time, until Ernest Hemingway was kind of fucking around with a gun, and was talking about shooting people, was fucking around with it, and just went up to this chicken and shot it in the head and killed it for absolutely no reason. J.D. Salinger said he was utterly disgusted and immediately cut off all communications with Ernest Hemingway. Was okay, Ernest Hemingway I thought was an awesome dude, amazing writer. Turns out he's a psychopath. And this is a common theme throughout the entire life of Ernest Hemingway. So J.D. Salinger gets a little first-hand taste. Then he, leaves war, goes, and he writes Catcher in the Rye. Very famous. So Ernest Hemingway also used to go hang out in Paris and get fucked up with Pablo Picasso and James Joyce, which that's a crazy idea as well. Used to just beat the shit out of people too. Ernest Hemingway, a known pugilist. But one of the funniest stories that I read about Ernest Hemingway, one of the funny stories that there is about Ernest Hemingway and his interaction with other famous writers at the time, is that Ernest Hemingway kind of had a little bit of a friendship with F. Scott Fitzgerald. F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote The Great Gatsby, and I think The Last Tycoon is him as well. I'm pretty sure, but specifically The Great Gatsby, one of the most famous books of all time, written by F. Scott Fitzgerald. One night, Ernest Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald are hanging out, drinking, obviously. F. Scott Fitzgerald kind of is down in the dumps, old Ernie is like, hey, F. Scott, you know, why the long face? And F. Scott Fitzgerald confides in old Ernie that his wife, F. Scott Fitzgerald's wife, told him that he had a small penis. And boy, there isn't a thing on this planet that can tear a man down more than hearing that he's got a small John Thomas. So old Ernie's like, I know the perfect way to cheer this man up. So he goes, hey, F. Scott, come with me. Let's go into the bathroom. F. Scott Fitzgerald at this time has to be thinking, oh my God, I'm going to fuck Ernest Hemingway. This is not good. So they go in the bathroom. Ernest Hemingway is like, hey, F. Scott, pull your pants down. So F. Scott Fitzgerald's like, oh God, like it really is happening. Pulls his pants down. Ernest Hemingway intently looks at his pecker and then says, yeah, actually looks pretty good size. Like he actually said, it's a good size. That's the quote that Ernest Hemingway, that's to directly quote Ernest Hemingway in his, reply back to F. Scott Fitzgerald. Said, it's a good size. Then, so that's already weird, but a hell of a friendship, really. But to make it even better, Ernest Hemingway then told F. Scott Fitzgerald that what he needs to do is go down the street to the Louvre, arguably the most famous art museum in the world. And he said, go take a look at all the statues of all the Greek gods and Greek warriors and take a look at how tiny their dicks are. This is actually what he told him. I'm not making this up. As much as it sounds like I am, and as much as I kind of maybe embellish some things, he told him to go to the Louvre and say, see how small their dicks are? Yours is way bigger than that. And those are Greek gods. And like the most famous Greek warriors of all time. And your dick is at least twice that size. So, fuck your wife. So, yeah. So that's Ernest Hemingway's interactions with other writers. Mind-boggling. Now, take a look at goddamn this dude. So, Ernest Hemingway, obviously as friendly as he was, clearly, he was also batshit crazy. Ernest Hemingway was a complete nut job. An amazing writer. Without a doubt, one of the greatest writers of all time. But a nut job. Now, a lot of this is because Ernest Hemingway had an insane amount of cats. There's theories that, you can get all kinds of mental disorders from cats. He also could just be nuts. So, part of Ernest Hemingway's craziness, as it does with a lot of people, manifests in severe paranoia. And Ernest Hemingway was a very paranoid person. So much so that he used to get in a little sailboat, used to get in a little fishing boat with machine guns and go patrol the Gulf of Mexico looking for German U-boats during World War II. He was so convinced that German U-boats, like little German submarines, were going to make their way up the Gulf of Mexico and land in, fucking Mobile, Alabama, that he would just patrol the Gulf of Mexico looking for German U-boats with machine guns, thinking oh, well, if I see one, I'm shooting these motherfuckers. So he legitimately thought that he was going to save the country. He also, because he used to go to he went to Cuba a lot and wrote books about Cuba, heavily invested in Cuba. He became very paranoid that the FBI was surveying him, that he was under massive surveillance by the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover. He was completely convinced of this because of his connections to Cuba and, Cuba's new leader, Fidel Castro. And everyone told him, you're being crazy. Nobody's fucking spying on you. There's nobody wiretapping your phones. This is just all in your head. You think that they're doing this. J. Edgar Hoover didn't give a fuck about what you're doing. But he was insistent. He's like, no, they're wiretapping my phones. They're following me. They're doing all this shit. And yet no one believed him. Turns out he was being spied on by J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI thoroughly. They were spying on him so much because of the exact reasons that he laid out, because of his connections to Cuba, and then Cuba having this new leader, Fidel Castro. And so his paranoia, so him thinking that he was going to, stumble upon a German U-boat and take it out with his machine gun on his fishing boat, as crazy as that is, he actually was kind of right. And that's like the weird thing about paranoia is like, it sometimes serves a purpose. It's just, weeding out the times where like you hop in a boat and try to hunt German submarines. But he was being spied on, so got to give him that at least. So the last one, last little segment of Ernest Hemingway's life is I'm going to go through some of just the crazy stuff that happened to him where you're like, maybe Ernest Hemingway was immortal. Now, obviously, I'm using all this in past tense, so he wasn't immortal. But there are times in Ernest Hemingway's life where you're like, this man was like a demigod, like Hercules. So Ernest Hemingway was in Africa one time, and he was on a plane flying over, like the savannah area of Africa. His plane that he's in crashed. He's the only one who survives this plane crash. And it crashed in the middle of a basically like grazing area for elephants. Elephants are not the friendliest animals. They are massive killing machines. So Ernest Hemingway is now stranded in the middle of this area in Africa where there's like killer elephants everywhere. And he just camps out waiting. He's like, somebody will find me. They'll figure out where I'm at. And he just camps out while there's all these like, super dangerous animals everywhere. He does end up getting rescued. They find out like where that the plane went down. They send a rescue plane. They get him. He gets on that plane, flying out from his little makeshift campsite. And as they're leaving his little makeshift campsite, he looks over and sees a flame coming out of off one of the wings of the plane. He's like, that's not good. That plane crashes. But when this plane crashes, he, again, only one alive. And when that plane crashes, he is pinned to his seat and not able to get out of the plane. So what he ends up doing, because he's right next to the door and is like, I got to get out of this fucking plane, he starts headbutting the door until it fucking finally opens up. Like, he headbutts this door so many times that he is able to open a plane door with his headbutts. When he stumbles out of the plane, it turns out that he had headbutted this door so many times that part of his skull was exposed. Now, obviously they didn't know a whole lot about CTE back in the day. But if there is anything that can give you Benoit level CTE, that's it. Which would explain a lot of the other Ernest Hemingway characteristics. So, not only did he survive one plane crash, gets into another plane, that plane crashes, survives it by headbutting his way out of the plane, exposing part of his skull. All in all, throughout Ernest Hemingway's life, he survived anthrax, malaria, skin cancer, a crushed skull, dysentery, a ruptured kidney, ruptured liver, and a ruptured spleen. He survived every one of those things. Turns out that the only thing that can kill Ernest Hemingway is Ernest Hemingway. And, last day of his life, puts a gun up to his head and ends it. And that's how, out of all these crazy things Ernest Hemingway did, that's how he goes out. Takes himself out, because nothing else in this world can take out Ernest Hemingway but Ernest Hemingway. My God. So, hopefully you found that interesting. I find Ernest Hemingway to be a fascinating human being. So, again, take a little break, and I'll finish up with a little where that come from. Okay, so for this segment of this week's where that come from, I think this is a pretty funny one, which I love doing these, and I'm glad people seem to be liking them, but hopefully you like this one as well. So, back in the 1700s, there was a fella named Captain James Cook. James Cook, pretty well-known figure, at least the name, but he was... he was a British explorer who basically navigated his way around Oceania. So New Zealand, Australia, all the way up into like Polynesia and Hawaii. Ends up in Hawaii, and things don't go well for James Cook. James Cook is in Hawaii. This is like his last travel, set of travels. James Cook ends up in Hawaii. Has a bit of a rough go with the native Hawaiians, and at one point tensions start building between him and the Hawaiians, and he kidnaps the king of Hawaii. Kind of tricks him into following him. King doesn't really understand that he's being kidnapped, but then all the other Hawaiians are like, what the fuck? No, he's taking our king. So they start to kind of like come at him. Now the king realizes like, oh shit, they're not just like, we're not hanging out. Like, they're kidnapping me. So this big fight starts. James Cook ends up getting bashed in the head and stabbed to death by, these native Hawaiians. They end up disemboweling him, and then boiling him to like rip all the like meat and skin off of his bones. And these like native Hawaiians use Captain James Cook's skeleton, taking the bones apart, and make like religious artifacts with it. Yeah, so James Cook, legendary explorer. That's what happens to him. That's how he ends up going out. But before that happens, one of the biggest contributions that James Cook gave to the people of the world is that when James Cook was in Australia, when James Cook was in the Australian, New Zealand area, on that expedition, he's in Australia and he's meeting with these Aboriginals, like the Aborigines of Australia. He's meeting with the Aborigines, and he's seeing these animals, these giant, what I think are terrifying animals, hopping around, big hops at a time, and they're everywhere. These like weird donkey, donkey-faced hybrid, strange animals. He's seeing them, and then every time he sees one hop by, he asks one of the Aboriginal people, "What is that called?" Keeps asking. He's like, "What is that called? Like, what do y'all call this animal? Like, what do you call this? What is that called?" Every time he says that, they say gangaroo. So he, kind of fucking up the pronunciation, writes it down as kangaroo. Now, that is obviously where we get the word kangaroo and why we call that animal the kangaroo. The funny thing about this is that when James Cook is asking the Aborigines, what do you call that? What do you call that? And they're saying gangaroo. They didn't call that a gangaroo. Gangaroo actually means we don't know what you're saying. So every time he's asking what's that animal called, they're just like saying, yeah, prick, we don't speak English. Like, we have no idea what you're saying right now. So we're saying we don't know. We're saying literally we don't know what you're saying. And he's like, oh, it's called a gangaroo, and writes it down as kangaroo. So when you see this terrifying creature known as the kangaroo, what you're really calling it is the we don't know what you're saying. So I find that to be very fascinating. Hope you do too. I think that'll wrap it up. That takes care of everything. So, yeah. Be sure to obviously like and subscribe. Check out the merch store. Buy a t-shirt. All that good stuff. Yeah. This was a good one, I think. A solid performance. Could have been better. I agree. But, not so bad. Well, until next week, goodbye.